Welcome and welcome back to Her Entrepreneurial Rise. I'm your host, Kelen Tamurian, president of the Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Program, or WeLeads, student board at the University of Washington's Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship. Her Entrepreneurial Rise was born from my steadfast belief in the power of storytelling to empower, to serve as a catalyst for social transformation. Through this podcast, I seek to amplify the stories of women and gender-expansive entrepreneurs to actively challenge the societal norms regarding who gets to be seen as a leader, and to provide you with a roadmap for how to take up space in a world that doesn't always make room for women and other marginalized identities to succeed. Season 1, with support by the University of Washington's Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship in the Foster School of Business, debuted as a Women's History Month series. Through our first series, interviews highlighted the stories of diverse women founders and leaders in the fields of technology, health and wellness, sustainability, and activism, offering an unfiltered look at the challenges, failures, and breakthroughs that come with building something meaningful. And now, in Season 2, I aim to build upon the goals of this initial series, grounding Her Entrepreneurial Rise in an ethos of creativity and innovation as a tool for impact, to dive deeper into the radical possibility of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial leadership as an engine for positive social change. Through my educational journey at the University of Washington, I have dedicated myself and my studies to understanding and analyzing potential solutions to what I believe are the most urgent social issues of our time: reproductive, mental, and physical health inequities, climate degradation, economic inequality, educational access, and beyond. The full scope of systemic challenges we face, however, is far-reaching and ever-evolving, and this podcast doesn't seek to name them all. What it does seek to do is unearth the power of entrepreneurship as a vessel to solve real-world problems and inspire innovators of all kinds to identify and pursue innovative solutions that build a better world. It recognizes that communities across differences of race, gender, sexuality, class, disability status, and more are uniquely impacted by many of these grand societal challenges. And so, their solutions must be nuanced, intersectional, and multifaceted. This podcast explores entrepreneurship as a means for crafting such solutions, grounded in the lived experiences and needs of the communities most affected, which can be implemented with greater urgency, creativity, and accessibility than traditional pathways often allow. Traditional avenues for advancing social change, such as public policy and legal and/or institutional reform, are valuable and necessary means for change that we can't abandon, and that I don't believe we have to. However, as someone who wants to make a difference in the world around her, I often find myself struggling with the fact that my single vote or my participation in community organizing may or may not pave the way for change, and if in the best case scenario that it does, that change can take time to materialize. The challenges we face require solutions that both meet the moment and are built with long-term impact in mind. In the same way entrepreneurs build ventures to meet a need with the intention of growth, the solutions we pursue to these grand societal challenges must be capable of implementation when they're most needed and be designed to scale in ways that affect the most meaningful change. So, in thinking about how to make a difference in the world around me, I found myself looking to entrepreneurship. Among the many levers of change, I believe entrepreneurship stands out as one that can meet the urgency of the moment, construct a roadmap for solving problems in more effective and resonant ways, and serve as a powerful avenue for advancing positive social change. Entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial leadership, especially when headed by historically marginalized and underrepresented leaders, with a deep understanding of or connection to the social issues at hand, offers a compelling alternative lever for advancing social change. For curious, compassionate, impact-minded individuals, entrepreneurship can provide the opportunity to take direct action and bring about change in ways not only responsive to specific needs, but which can have broader or more immediate influence. The grand societal challenges we face are global, local, and they affect all of us. An entrepreneurial venture designed to provide a solution for a community that is uniquely affected by a systemic problem, of course, benefits that particular community. But these benefits are not exclusive. They're expansive. Entire societies benefit from these kinds of entrepreneurial solutions because entrepreneurship is a space where urgency meets innovation, where vision meets impact, and where diverse leaders leverage their lived experiences to build intentionally toward a better future for us all. It's true. Consider Mary Anderson's invention of the windshield wiper in 1903. Sparked by her observation of a trolley driver struggling to see through sleet and snow during a winter trip to New York, What began as a solution to a very specific small-scale problem has since become a universal safety feature, standard on cars, trucks, SUVs, buses, planes, and beyond, improving visibility and preventing accidents around the world. Or take Mary Van Britten Brown, who, inspired by concerns for safety in her own neighborhood, developed the first home security system in 1966. Her design introduced early versions of functionalities we now rely on: video monitoring, remote-controlled door locks, push-button alarm triggers, instant communication with security providers and police, and two-way voice communication, features now embedded in modern security systems that protect not just individual families, but entire communities, institutions, and public spaces. These innovations, rooted in and driven by the lived experiences of women, didn't just address their immediate contexts. They rippled outward, embedding safety, trust, and care into the daily lives of millions, reminding us that when innovators draw from personal insight to devise solutions to social challenges, their solutions can and do lift entire societies toward a better tomorrow. This is what this season of Her Entrepreneurial Rise is all about. Over the coming months, each interview will help create a blueprint for the future of social change, one where social issues are understood as opportunities for innovators of all kinds to create lasting impact. In every conversation, you'll hear from women and gender-expansive entrepreneurs and leaders who have transformed their personal lived experiences into ventures that directly address the grand societal challenges and disparities facing communities around the world, from health inequities, climate change, economic injustice, and educational access. These leaders didn't wait for permission or perfect conditions. They identified urgent needs, envisioned bold solutions, and built ventures grounded in empathy and designed for impact. Each episode will not only illuminate the why behind each venture, but also the how, and have been structured intentionally in 2 segments. Part 1 of each episode explores the founder's personal journey, unpacking the lived experiences, values, and other social contexts that inspired their venture. This is their why. Part 2 of each episode is all about the how, or the practical side of getting started. How did they secure early funding, key resources, and early support for their venture? And what advice do they have for someone with an entrepreneurial mindset and desire to do impactful work and make a change in their community or field? Each guest will share their insights, strategies, and lessons they've learned along the way, helping you build a toolkit of practical strategies for how each of us can look to our own lived experiences, passions, and vision for the future as a launchpad for meaningful change. Season 2 of Her Entrepreneurial Rise will be organized thematically. First, we'll hear from the women and gender-expansive entrepreneurial leaders tackling health equity, followed by climate change and sustainability, then economic justice, and following that, educational access. If you're a first-time listener, I of course recommend you go listen to Season 1 of Her Entrepreneurial Rise, because there are so many incredible insights about the power of leadership and entrepreneurship to spark change from amazing guests, making a difference in their communities waiting for you there. But while I have you here, let me share some context on how Season 2 of Her Entrepreneurial Rise is part of the bigger picture. As part of the Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Washington, the Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Program, or WeLead, is a dynamic ecosystem committed to advancing women identifying and allied students as entrepreneurs, leaders, investors, and agents of innovation, and nurture a sense of belonging and empowerment for students within the University of Washington community and the entrepreneurial world at large. Through mentorship programs, workshops, industry panels, and other experiential learning opportunities, WeLead engages the University of Washington's student body with Seattle's greater entrepreneurial community, including founders, investors, and industry leaders, to create a feedback loop of opportunity, growth, and access, something that has historically been denied to women and those from other marginalized identities, and where immense opportunity exists to innovate, expand, invest, and include. The WeLead Student Board is integral to the creation of this feedback loop. Composed of a group of passionate ambassadors and connectors, the Student Board is committed to creating a welcoming and supportive environment where individuals interested in entrepreneurship and leadership have access to the tools, support, and opportunities they need to thrive and devise careful and generative solutions to the societal challenges we collectively face. Season 2 of the Her Entrepreneurial Rise podcast embodies the inclusive, supportive ethos and mission of WeLead by amplifying the stories of impact-minded women and gender-expansive entrepreneurs to help you begin to envision yourself as capable of devising innovative solutions as a leader of social change, right here, right now. So if you, like me, want to make a difference in the world around you, but find yourself grappling with the pace and accessibility of traditional levers of change, this podcast is for you. Season 2 of Her Entrepreneurial Rise is about possibility. It's about amplifying the ventures of women and gender-expansive leaders who are proving that entrepreneurship can be a force for positive social impact. It's about illuminating values-driven entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial leadership as a pathway to make a difference and actively take part in building the future you hope to see. Each episode is an invitation to be inspired and to believe more deeply in your capacity to lead and contribute to positive social change. As we will learn from the multiple innovative changemakers and founders featured on this podcast, the mechanisms for change are not limited to public policy, grassroots advocacy, or legal and/or institutional reform. In fact, you and your lived experiences can inform powerful innovations that can help us build a better future. One that's rooted in empathy, equity, and communal care. So if you're ready to rise, to turn your passion into impact, build with intention, and reimagine what social change can look like, this is your moment. Welcome to Season 2. Let's rise together. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Her Entrepreneurial Rise podcast. The Her Entrepreneurial Rise podcast was founded, hosted, and produced by me, Kelen Tamurian, president of the We Lead Student Board, with support from the Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship in the Foster School of Business at the University of Washington. I'm so grateful to have you along for these conversations, amplifying the stories of impact-minded women and gender-expansive innovators whose ventures and life's work shine a bright light on the radical possibility of entrepreneurship as an engine for positive social impact. If you'd like to learn more about the entrepreneur or leader featured in this episode, their journey, business, and mission, be sure to check out their website and social media platforms, all linked in the show notes. There you'll also find a list of the statistics, articles, and resources mentioned in this conversation for your further research and exploration. To stay connected with the Her Entrepreneurial Rise podcast and the Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Program at the Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Washington, follow us on social media and visit our website, both linked below. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please rate, review, and share the podcast with a friend, classmate, or fellow believer in the power of entrepreneurship to spark positive change. Your support truly means the world and is the best way to help grow the show. I'm so happy you're here and part of the Her Entrepreneurial Rise community. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.